Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now, your host, Tim Johnson.
John White received a BA in English with distinction from the University of Virginia and a master's degree in public administration from New York University. He began his career in education as an English teacher at William L. Dickinson High School in Jersey City, New Jersey. In 2006, he was asked by New York City School Chancellor Joel Klein to join the senior leadership team of the largest school district in the United States, where he led teacher effectiveness and school innovation efforts and led the city's efforts to turn around more than 100 failing schools. John White became superintendent of the Louisiana Recovery School District in May 2011 and was named Louisiana State Superintendent of Education in January of 2012. Since becoming superintendent, he has pushed for major reforms in our state's pre-K through 12 system. John White joins us when we return on the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. Do you want a better life?
Get your associate's degree in occupational studies in information technology from ITI. In 2 years, you'll be on your way to a better life. You will get hands-on specialized training in computers, hardware and software, networking, and more. ITI offers flexible class schedules, and financial aid is available to those who qualify.
So don't wait. Call ITI now or go online. It's that simple.
ITI for a better life.
I'm Leighton Ricks, Livingston Parish, and Livingston Parish is on the move. One of the primary things that we ran on was developing business and jobs in Livingston Parish for our people so that we can bring obviously additional revenue to be able to support our infrastructure needs. We're going to continue to progress here in Livingston Parish. When everybody comes together, these kind of things happen. I mean, what can you say? It's absolutely awesome. It's the perfect place to be. It's where you want to be today, I can guarantee you that.
Hi, I'm Lee Burkeen with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week where we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Our guest is John White, Louisiana State Superintendent of Education. John, welcome.
Tim, thanks for having me.
Glad you're here, man. Lots to talk about, so let's jump into it. The current state of public education in our great state, the current status. We've seen some great improvement over the last few years. Kind of give us an overview of where we are today in terms of the quality of our public education.
We're moving in the right direction, no doubt about it. And when you look all the way through, I'm talking about from our littlest kids to our young adults, you see really, really good momentum. And Tim, that's going back a ways. We've been over the last 10 years, we're graduating 11% at a higher rate per year than we were 10 years ago. And that's tens of thousands of kids who graduated high school who otherwise wouldn't have. Our university graduation rates are going up too, which is great news. We're the fastest growing state in the nation on advanced placement tests, which is a great sign for our high school kids. We had 4,000 more kids nearly this year that graduated with an ACT score that allows them college entrance and shows that they're on their track, on the right track there. So we're seeing good outcomes there. Go all the way down to pre-kindergarten, good outcomes, more kids showing up in kindergarten ready to learn. At the same time, if you look at the jobs that are coming to our state, you know, more than half of those jobs require a degree or an education beyond high school. And right now, only 28% of our citizens have a degree after high school. And so we know we need to make greater progress if our kids are going to go on to be graduates who take advantage of those job opportunities.
And we're going to talk about what it takes to prepare individuals to compete in what is truly a global economy a little bit later. But let's talk about some of the reforms we've seen that you and I both believe have led to some of the advancements. From charter schools to teacher tenure to accountability, a lot of different innovative reform efforts that you have led on behalf of the general administration over the last couple of years. Give us an overview of where we stand from a reform standpoint in the state.
I think it falls out into three categories. The basic expectations we have for our kids, the expectations we have for ourselves as educators, and the options and the choices that we provide our families. In terms of raising the bar, we've adopted nation-leading standards, nation-leading expectations, and ways of measuring those standards, whether it's tests that we're taking on that are going to be new, whether it's the ACT that we've now adopted so that every kid has the chance to take those kind of assessments. We are fundamentally raising the bar because our kids are just as smart, just as capable as any in America. Our basic expectations in literacy and in math should be no less than any other states in America. We are very, very close to finalizing that implementation. With respect to our own expectations for ourselves, number one, we've got to shift from a system that is longevity-based and kind of status-based to one that's merit-based. And when we make decisions about who the educator is who's in front of that child every day, we've got to have the confidence that we're making the best choice possible for that child, and having instituted not just evaluation systems, but also empowering our educators and empowering our principals to make that decision. We're gone as far as any state in the country in that direction, in a merit-based direction. And as a matter of parents and what parents have the opportunity to choose from, I just believe that no matter the wealth that's in your pocketbook, you should have the ability to choose what's best for your child. Look, my parents sent me to a private school. They didn't like the public school in that neighborhood, didn't think it was right for me, so they sent me to a private school. They could do that because they had the money to do that. And I don't understand and haven't heard a good argument against why every family shouldn't have that right. But it really is not a public school versus private school versus charter school kind of thing. It really is just a question of what's the best school for the parent. And the more good schools we have, whether it's charter public, traditional public, or private, then the better off we're going to be as a state and the better off our kids are going to be.
You know, that old saying is the rising tide lifts all boats, and because you guys have been so aggressive with some of these reforms that have really been based on what's best for the children of our state and what's best for their long-term future, you've received some criticism. I mean, I've heard comments from some of the detractors saying things like, well, the general administration is anti-teacher. How do you respond to that?
Well, having been a teacher, let me tell you, there are 50,000 teachers in this state, and there are 50,000 views as to what's best for education. There is no one teacher view, and I think that needs to be said. You know, there are some teachers that, yeah, they don't agree with everything we've done. That's true of the general populace. We've got 4.5 million people in this state. Someone out there is going to disagree with what you've done. But the idea that there is one teacher perspective and it's anti-change is a discredit and frankly offensive to teachers. Teachers are all about change. Teachers know that we need to keep progressing. They wouldn't be in education if they didn't think that. And there are a lot of teachers out there that are saying, we know we've got to move in the right direction. I receive emails and calls on a daily basis. A lot from teachers who say we support what you're doing, some from teachers who say we don't support it, but most from teachers who say, hey, here's a suggestion for how you can make it better. That's the spirit with which we're doing this. That's the spirit that teachers bring to the classroom and frankly bring to education policy.
How do we get that message out though? Because you know, we often hear about the very vocal minority and we hear not so much from what is more of a silent majority, but you're getting those emails, you're getting those calls, you receive that feedback. How do we get that message out there that there are so many more teachers in our state that support these reforms and support what you're doing?
Well, you're right. I think that those teachers who have their heads down and are focused on their kids every day, you know, they don't have time to be thinking about big state policy issues and this and that. And I know that myself as a teacher. It's more about lesson planning and grading papers and getting ready for the next day or the next year than it is about obsessing about the politics of education reform. But I think the way we do this right and the way we tell the positive story is we get results. We put our heads down, we work hard, and we get results for our kids. Education change, and part of what makes this so hard, is this is not something where you do one thing one month and then the system suddenly changes the next month. This is a once-in-a-generation shift. It's going to take a while to move this boat and turn it in a different direction. And we started that. We started that long before I came along. And the good news is we're getting positive results. If families are getting positive results, they're going to know the change is positive. We're going to look back on this years from now, and we're going to say we did the right thing. And that's what we've got to be fighting for in the long run. We did the right thing for our kids. It's not about the politics of yesterday or tomorrow. It's about years from now. Can we look back and be proud of what we did? And I think the answer is yes.
Well, it causes you to be in a position where you have to put your head down and, as you say, can just continue to do what's right every day for the cause of education. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to jump into another one of these reforms that have been in the news a lot lately, and that's this whole idea of higher standards in the Common Core. We're visiting with John White. He's the Louisiana State Superintendent of Education, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
I go to work every day, and I love doing what I'm doing, and I love being a part of Livingston Parish, and to be elected sheriff, to be able to lead Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office is just such an honor for me, and so I'm very excited about not only where we're at today, but where we're going to be at in the future. The parish is so special to the citizens. They work with the Sheriff's Office, they trust the Sheriff's Office. Our community stands behind us 100%, and they get involved. They don't want crime in Livingston Parish.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the Grand Slam hitter to grandparents. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Hello, I'm Eric Edwards with the Livingston Parish Convention and Visitors Bureau. Find out now what's going on in Livingston Parish. We have over 400 nautical miles of waterways. Tee it up at our great world-renowned golf courses. Shop at our antique districts, or come to Bass Pro, our #1 retailer. There's a lot to do in Livingston Parish that you never imagined. It's all happening right here in Livingston Parish. For more information, go online at visitlivingstonparish.com.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the three-point shooter to the three-piece suit. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with John White, Louisiana State Superintendent of Education. And John, we talked about a lot of the reforms that are underway in our state and some of the results we've seen from those reforms. And one of the things that we've read a lot about, we've heard a lot about in the news over the last year or so, is this whole idea of raising standards in our state and what's called the Common Core. So while we may have read a lot and seen a lot and heard a lot about it, I'm not sure that all of our viewers would know exactly what the Common Core standards are, why they're so important, and then we'll get into what we think the results might be from the higher standards.
Well, at a basic level, I think I share a belief with you, Tim, and all Louisianans that our kids in our state are just as smart.
That's right.
They're just as capable. God has given them gifts that make them as innately talented as any child in America. And at the same time, when you look at just the expectations we have, kids in Louisiana, I'll just give you an example. You know, our middle school kids, we learned things in 7th grade that kids in Massachusetts learned in 6th grade. And that's not because the kids in Massachusetts are somehow innately more intelligent than our kids. That's just a choice that we've made. Several years ago, states got together. We said, how do we end this gap? You know, how do we not have a situation where kids in one state are just educated to a higher standard than kids in another state? How do we share opportunity for our young people to be educated at a high level? And we came up with, in reading, writing, and math, not in anything else, not in social studies, not in science, not in the arts, nothing else. In reading, writing, and math,
our core courses,
the
right?
basic skills of education. How well should a kid be able to read in 4th grade? How well should a kid be able to perform math tasks in 8th grade? Should be able to write in 11th grade? And we said, let's try to establish together as states a shared definition. We did that. 45 states, and Louisiana was a leader, said, we're going to do that. And what's the outcome going to be? The outcome is going to be we're going to raise ourselves up together. We're never going to be able to compromise because we as states said we are committed to the idea that our kids deserve an equal shot to any child in America. And you know, it's often talked about that Louisiana hasn't historically ranked highly among states. Our kids, there's a reason for that. Our kids' expectations, the expectations we have for them, also haven't been as high as they should be. I believe, Tim, that if we raise our expectations into a time when we say, we're not 47th, we're not 48th, we can be first. Our kids are just as smart and just as capable as any in America, that we will see better outcomes, better life opportunities for those kids as graduates.
I saw some information in local newspaper over the course of the last week or so, but it had some test questions and basically some higher level thinking. And that's really what we're trying to do here, trying to get away from rote memorization and try to get kids to think at a higher level, because as you mentioned, when we think about Louisiana as compared to Massachusetts or Texas or Mississippi or California or any other state in the Union, our kids are not competing against those other states for these careers and for these jobs anymore. It truly is a global economy, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But we have to prepare these kids to compete against kids in India and China and Japan and all over the world. And so by raising standards, it's been my experience as a guy who's been involved with kids all of my life from a basketball coaching standpoint, is they'll generally raise to the level of your expectations. They'll rise up and meet those standards if you set them for them. And I think that's really basically what we're saying with Common Core, right?
Yeah, I mean, the kids aren't the problem here.
Yeah.
The kids aren't the challenge. They will rise up. It's hard, but they will rise up. The question is, do we have the courage and the fortitude to do it? And what we're facing now is, as you say, an opportunity where we're sharing our expectations for how well our kids can read, can write, and do math across states. At the same time, you're right. Those expectations, when you raise them up, they're not just bubble tests anymore. And we got to get away from bubble tests. You know, the reality is in your company or in the businesses of the folks who are watching on this program, it's not about just filling out bubble tests. It's actually thinking independently. It's reasoning your way through problems. And so when we raise the bar, and you saw it on those test questions, it's not just about does, you know, A plus B equals C. Yes, you got to get the question right, but you also got to do it in a complex environment. You've got to show multiple steps for how to arrive at that answer. You've got to use critical thinking and independent thinking because we've raised that bar.
What is it that the critics most often cite in terms of their problem with raising these standards? What is it? I know we've heard a lot of groups out there, and some have said stuff about, well, we're pushing implementation too fast. I know that you guys have started this going back as far as 2.5 or 3 years ago. So what is the main argument that the critics of Common Core are making?
I think it's, as in any of these issues, I think it's important to listen to your critics. And I think it's important not to shut down their arguments as somehow just opposed to change. I don't think the people that are critiquing the Common Core standards are opposing the change. I think they're making some of them valuable suggestions, and I'd say a couple of them. Number one, some people are saying we're moving too fast. Bessie, our State Board of Education, they acted. They said, let's take a 2-year pause. Let's give more time to learn. So teachers, parents, and students now have 2 more years until these standards come into full effect in Louisiana. I think that's good news. Gives our teachers and educators, our kids, more time to learn. Second, some people are saying, you know, this is a federal plot. This is an act of the federal government to try to take over education in Louisiana. Well, Bessie passed a rule at its last 2 meetings ago that said, under no circumstances will we accept a federal curriculum. These have to be standards that we believe in Louisiana. We have to believe they're the best expectations for our kids, and the federal government shall play no role in the curriculum of what our kids read and learn on a daily basis. We should consistently listen, constantly listen to any critics, make adjustments here, you know, as we go forward. But the one thing we can't compromise on is this: our kids are just as smart, they're just as capable as any child in America, and our school system's expectations for our kids should reflect that basic idea.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that perspective of our kids being just as smart. I can remember working in the Louisiana legislature back in the mid-'80s, and them talking about if we can just get our teacher salaries up to the Southern average, and if we can just get our results up to the Southern average. And I thought, what a sorry state of affairs, what a sad argument. If we can just be average in the South, why can't we shoot to be a top 10 school system in America? And we're going to come back from the break, and we're going to talk about preparing individuals to compete in a global economy and something called Jumpstart that the department is launching sometime soon. We're visiting with John White. He's the State Superintendent of Education, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4. Good stuff.
The The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Lieber Kane with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week where we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. Do you want a better life?
Get your associate's degree in occupational studies in information technology from ITI. In 2 years, you'll be on your way to a better life. You will get hands-on specialized training in computers, hardware and software, networking, and more. ITI offers flexible class schedules, and financial aid is available to those who qualify.
So don't wait. Call ITI now or go online. It's that simple.
ITI for a better life.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the soccer star to the soccer mom. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from long drivers to unlucky drivers. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with State Superintendent John White. John, you guys have been going around the state talking about a new program that you are implementing statewide called Jumpstart, and it's really an effort to ensure that every kid that goes through public education in our state is prepared to participate in what is truly a global economy. I think you and I share the view that education at all levels exists primarily to prepare individuals to participate and to compete and to have a future and a career. Tell us what Jumpstart is. Let's talk about how it's being rolled out and what specifically we hope to gain from it.
Well, Tim, the jobs that are coming to Louisiana, right now we're the envy of America in terms of the job boom that's happening here.
We talk about it on
and
the
the
show every
opportunities.
week,
I'm sure you do.
Right.
The challenge, of course, is who's going to take those jobs. And for Louisiana to prosper, for its graduates and its kids to prosper, grow up and provide for their families, it's going to have to be them who's taking those jobs. And the nature of those jobs, as you know better than anybody, are that they require an education after high school. They don't require, for the most part, a four-year university degree,
That's right.
but they require an education after high school. And right now, 20% of our kids go on to get four-year university degrees, 8% go on to get a two-year college degree. But that leaves 72% of your population with no education degree beyond high school, and that's not going to hack it for the jobs that we have on the horizon. The world is changing, moving toward advanced credentials, and Jumpstart is a program to say, okay, for those kids who aren't moving on that four-year university track, really for those even who are, but predominantly for those who are not, we've got to have them leaving high school credentialed and ready to participate in the economy and continue their education. That means they're going to be going to our technical and community colleges. It means they're going to be getting industry-based certificates at their high school or in a professional setting like an Associated Builders and Contractors Center. Allowing kids who aren't going on that four-year university track to get an industry-based credential or advanced standing at a technical and community college while they're in high school. That's what Jumpstart's all about. And to get there, it means we're going to have industry, our higher education system, and our high schools together at the table, figuring out a plan for how we do that. That's the essence of Jumpstart.
We've done ourselves a great disservice in this country creating a culture over the last 20 years that says you can only truly be successful if you get your training at the four-year university. And I think that's really a reflection of what you guys are talking about here in terms of changing that paradigm. I often tell the story, John, about a young man who was an air conditioning repairman who came to my home one July night 5 or 6 years ago. It's 96 degrees at 9 p.m. My air conditioning on my bedroom side of my house is not working. Typical story. He had not seen much relevance in high school, didn't teach what he thought he wanted. Now, he didn't use the word relevance, but that's what he meant. Was fascinated by working with his hands in refrigeration, went into a technical program as soon as he graduated from high school, got his certificate, and was out earning a great living. He diagnosed the problem in about 15 or 20 minutes, fabricated a part from his truck so he could have the part that he needed, and he had my unit up and running. And it occurred to me at that moment that the skills that this young man brought to my home and to the economy in general were every bit as important as every accountant I'd ever been to, or maybe any lawyer I'd ever been to. But because he got his training at the technical school and not at the university, we view him differently. And what we're saying now is we can do a lot of this technical training at the high school level, preparing these young people just as we would be if they were going to college. And that's what Jumpstart's really about.
Yeah,
right?
that is the heart of it. And you know, the thing about, just to take that HVAC repairman, I mean, he can, of course, earn a good wage. He's earning a salary. He's providing for his family. Successful participant in our economy. He can also go back and get that four-year university degree.
Right.
You know, it's not just about college or career. College may be, or four-year university may be well right for somebody who's 18. Maybe a two-year college is right for that person who's 18. Maybe they need to go in and work for a couple years and then go back to college. The point is you want to keep them participating, keep them growing, keep them in the game. And right now, too many of our kids walk across that stage in high school and we don't know where they're going. And I'll tell you, Tim, for me personally, this has been a reflection. You know, like most educators, I went to a four-year university, as you did. I got an English degree and went and taught English. You know, that's what we do. We're trained to teach Macbeth or Hamlet or you know, some other Shakespeare. And what I realized is I've been to dozens, hundreds of these graduation ceremonies over the years. Kids walk across, I know where the kids are going to LSU are going, know where the kids are going to Southern are going, but what about the kid who's not immediately going to college? Did I really know where that kid is going, including kids I taught? And the answer is, in too many cases, no. We've got to provide concrete opportunity for every kid who graduates high school, or else we're not really doing our job as educators.
It really does primarily exist to prepare individuals to participate successfully in the economy. We've got less than a minute left. What else is on the horizon at the State Department of Education?
Well, I would say it's a pre-K through 12, it's a birth through 20 spectrum, and I think we've got to really raise up our system of early childhood education. I was so thrilled to be asked by the U.S. Senate a couple of weeks back to come and testify on what we're doing to raise the bar, not just in our K-12 system, not just in our workforce development system, but also in our early childhood system. Tim, if we don't get this right, if we continue to have kids coming into kindergarten who can't even identify all 26 letters, who can't even count to 20, then we're putting one hand behind our back and we're really hurting our kids. We've got to get this system right as well.
We really do, and it's something really important. I look forward to having you back on the show sometime soon to talk more about the successes that we're having.
Tim, thanks so much.
John White, thanks. You've been watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.